Hey, we wanted to come to you today with our time together and be able to just to ask some simple questions. BJ preached this past week, and so we're just going to kind of do this together. BJ, why are we using this 9 characteristics of outwardly focused Christians? I mean, what's the big deal with being outwardly focused as a Christian?
Well, I mean, you've got today, everyone's trying to elevate their brand. I mean, you can look at social media, you can look at everything is trying to, hey, let me let you see me, and we'll use filters and we don't really give who we really are. So everybody's out there trying to just show this, and really outwardly focused. It really shouldn't even be about you. It should be about the Jesus living inside of you. And when you outwardly live for Him, there's going to be something countercultural. So you're people who are trying to just cause a discussion to happen about them. Well, just make it about Jesus, and a discussion's going to happen.
Right.
And it's going to be more about Him. And so living outwardly focused, that's important.
Yeah, I think the hard part for our culture, because our culture is radically obsessed with self. Everything we do seems to be to construct a life that is me and mine and what's good for me and mine. And it's funny because human flourishing, according to Scripture, comes almost from a different direction. In fact, it does come from the exact opposite direction, with the idea that the first shall be last, that those who will find life, that in life indeed will have abandoned their own life in order to find it. Jesus gives us this kind of flip side. And yet we live in a culture that says chase after life, grab hold of life, be the one who can establish your own life. And so that drifts into the church too. How have you seen it drift into the church?
You've seen it. You've seen it in different ways, but especially through families. You've got it where mom, dad competing for different things, and instead of the one focus of Christ, and a lot of times they're competing for these things, maybe to find a better life outside, and not really so much focused on Christ, which is the unifier. If both would just focus on that, and what happens is life turns upside down for that marriage, and kids are drug into it, and other families are drug into it. So the focus there, when the focus is on self and not on Christ,
right,
then you have a divided interest.
So marriage is about making me happy.
Okay. Fulfilling my desires, my goals. You have things at work come up, and maybe to get ahead in a job, or to just try to promote yourself better in a job. Sometimes you can leave friends behind, and you can leave relations. You can burn bridges there at the workplace, where that's where you're supposed to be the light of the world.
And church just becomes a part of building my life, right?
Absolutely.
It's just a piece of my life. Which it's interesting because when Jesus gave us the command to go into all the world and preach the gospel, make disciples of all nations, I mean, he really gave the impetus to the church to be a going group, a group that is moving out into the community, serving sacrificially, laying down their lives for their friends, laying down the lives with the good news, so that we carry this thing called the good news that says you can find life, but only if you're willing to surrender your life to Christ. And it seems to be one of those diseases that comes into the church, where the church is about programming. It's about what the church can do for me, about how the church can make me feel, how it can give me community. And the church does all those things, but it doesn't do it so it ends in the person. There's always the church strengthens us and gives us community so that.
Yeah, so that there's a it draws me back to Galatians, where it talks about, for I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I that live, but it is Christ who lives inside of me. And he goes on to say that I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me.
Right.
Which is that picture of going out and living for other people. And the thing is, we talked about on Sunday morning, is that you can't please both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't satisfy the needs of both sides. It's God or self, and you can't satisfy both. And James was quick to say, if you're going to be friends with the world, you're going to be enemies of God.
Right.
You're going to be enemies. You're going to be friends with God. You're going to be enemies of the world. So there's going to be fighting and strife. But is it against the world, or is it against God? If it's against God, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
We've lost. But if it's against the world, then we're fighting on the same side of God, and we're fighting against all this stuff that the world says is important, which we know it's not.
Right. Well, we're going to find ourselves, as we look at these character traits, really running up against some of the things that we all value, we all love about church. and learning that these things that sometimes become the end in and of themselves are actually a means to strengthen us so that we can go back out. You liken it to somewhat like a gym.
Yeah, like a gym. We were talking about that earlier. Just like a gym membership. You go to a gym membership and you have a gym membership because they have tools and resources and stuff that you may not have at home. None of us have a big enough room at home to have all this equipment. So you go there to access what's there. Now, the responsibility is still on you at home to still live a healthy lifestyle, because you can't go to the gym, do things, come home and do something opposite and completely see something happen in your body. Well, there's the same thing for the church. To be spiritually healthy, we come here or come to the church and come to a group of people so that we can access wisdom. We can access stories. We can access things about how God has triumphed in them and the struggles that they've had, and we apply that to ourselves.
Right. And then the good part about that is that is to be then leveraged out in the community so that we serve others there, not just so that we, there are gym rats that just want to look good so they can look in the mirror.
Or they want to watch. You can't sit there and watch somebody utilize it. You have to experience it.
So we come to church, we experience being together, we celebrate that, we serve each other here, we gain strength here, but always so that we can go out and be the reflection of Christ and share the good news with people out there. So as we look at that, we want you to be a part of how we look at the characteristics of what it is to be an outwardly focused Christian, one who, instead of it being about me, it's really about serving Christ and making disciples and sharing the good news of Jesus all around us with people who are in need of a God who loves them very much. Thanks. We'll see you next time.